Hey everyone, Steve the Amateur Historian, about ready to go out today. However, even though we're just a couple days from it being November, it's supposed to be 83 degrees today, and it's apparently already 79 outside, so I actually am going to need to use some sunscreen, because this will definitely burn. And also, before I head out, the time has finally come. After more than 3 years of use, I finally bought some new shoes online. They're pretty much the same as these because these lasted me so long and were so good, but this finally happened. Like, it's still fairly supportive, surprisingly. There's just this little blop here. That's, and I'm not walking too long today, so I can deal. But yeah, that was the sign that, like, you know, I've been planning on buying new shoes for a while, but yeah, that was the clear sign that, like, the time is now. Anyway, that said, let's get to walking. Oh my lord, it's like 100 degrees out here. Not really, but definitely not what I'm used to anymore. I had a planned excursion, and we'll see. This heat might just fry me real quick. Anyway, my plan is to go north, slightly northeast today. I have a planned location to get to that will be like my turnaround point. And I'll be walking through an area that I kind of generally haven't really gone through, actually. So, probably be about an 8-mile round trip. That's, of course, if I make it. Uh-oh. Cops are out. They knew I stepped outside. They're coming to get me. And also, my right knee is a little stiff. I think I slept crooked or something. So that may have an effect. And yeah, we'll see. You know, I am a consummate second wind getter. I'm also planning on hitting up a convenience store along my way to get some edible item and a big old bottle of water. Is this it? Yes, I love that this is here. Because I discovered it a couple weeks back, and it's a good way to get off the main drag and into the residential area without having to worry about whether there's a street there. So I'm going to use this way to kind of go this direction. That seems to be the plan. And going into an area where I haven't seen as much stuff, maybe there'll be some, hopefully a lot of random little interesting things to take note of. And hopefully I won't get lost. And hopefully I won't get shanked. So, ooh, apples. Apples, those actually look like some good apples. Well, some of them. Not you, fella. You are past your prime. Holy but jolly. I got so hooked on the apples. I almost didn't notice the house that's fighting to stay alive. At least this looks like they're just fixing it up. Stripping it down and fixing it up. I'm at 117th and Stark. Here's the Ventura Park, the park that iconically protesters completely destroyed during one of their protests, and yet magically cleaned up to perfection by early afternoon the following day. Wink, wink. It's amazing how many things get hung up on power poles all the time, especially at a busy intersection. It's infinite. And out of focus. So I don't know how long it's been since the last protest I was actually here, but I did notice there's still some markings here, presumably from protesting. So I don't know when the last one actually came through here. This could literally be just leftovers from the one that happened. I think it was like their 100th day of protesting. They came here, and even that was a little while back. timing was impeccable. Kind of, 'cause I still can't cross yet. So, finally, I am into an area I do not know. I haven't been this far. Up 117. So a lot of what I see through here, I've never seen before. Don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I know I get to Cooch right here. Yes, it is called Cooch Street, even though it's spelled couch. So I know when I get here, I have to zigzag, go down, up, and over, and come back to 117th again. And there's a 7-Eleven at 114th and Halsey. That might be where I choose to get my liquid refreshment. Socks, anybody? Free socks. This last two trees are holding on. So I wasn't going to let today's therapy walk be bombarded by things on my mind, but I can't help it. So I've talked on my channel before about how I don't have a relationship with my father. I haven't had one since May of 2009, when I dramatically left home and decided I'm not going back. And every time I've encountered my father since, it's been by chance. I've never sought him out personally. And after I had, my 2 years to just be mad and to hate him for all this stuff that happened while I was growing up, I finally was able to calm down and put things into perspective. And I told myself, my biggest issue with my father is how he behaves and who he is. So if he decides to change and become a better person, like a genuinely better person, then maybe we can mend our ways. It's a hard thing to ask of somebody when you leave. Even at the time you leave home, your dad is in his mid-50s. And he's 66, he turns 67 next April, so he's getting up there. But yeah, I said, if he changes his ways and straightens his ass out, maybe we can begin to mend our ways. Alright, we got across Gleason and 17th. I had to pause briefly to focus, but anyway, I also had to put my mask on because there was a guy coming towards me. And so, I didn't even know my dad had a Facebook till recently. So of course, out of curiosity, I stumbled on there and kind of started looking at his stuff. And he's worse than he was when I left home. At least his perspectives on life, he's not that much different, but he's worse. He actually became part of he became part of some group in Gladstone where I actually lived, and he moved there after him and my mom split, and then I took off. He eventually moved to the Gladstone area. He actually lived kind of close to me for about a year and a half. And just reading his, he's posted stuff, and I'm just like, oh God, Dad, really? And then, I would read the comments that people posted, usually people that are, like-minded with him. And just just unfiltered racism coming out of people. My dad posted a meme. My dad's not much of a meme poster, but he posted a meme parodying MAGA, Make America Great Again. He posted a meme, but it was Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez working at a bar, because she used to be a bartender at some point. And so it said MABA, make Alexandria a bartender again. And I'm like, wow, Dad, you are really trying to piss me off, aren't you? And of course I found a couple anti-Bernie comments. And then back in 2016, I found a nice little post that he didn't even post on his own Facebook. He posted it on some other group talking about how we have to vote for Trump. You meet the guy and you think, this guy seems okay, level-headed. He's a bit chatty. He's a bit much, but okay. But you all don't know. Black Lives Matter. You don't know what I've seen, what I grew up with. It's my dad's got a lot of nerve criticizing people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. When my dad was her age, he was working for, like, he had his own little mechanic shop that he ended up shutting down. And, you know, it was about the time I was born. Because my dad's always been a big, you need to show up. If there's something to fight, you need to show up and fight it. Yet I noticed he's had nothing to say about the Black Lives Matter protests. I haven't seen one post from him in relation to that, where you've got people showing up and fighting, but for stuff that I know my dad isn't in support of. I just know it. So I just find it interesting, because my dad thinks that because he shows up to city council meetings and county commissioner meetings, and because he writes the periodic piece that he sends to the Clackamas Review or whatever other random newspaper, he thinks he's like doing so much, because he's an egotist. That's the biggest problem. He's an egotist, he's a control freak, and he's a liar. Unfortunately, he's all three of those things to his core, and a lot of those things affected my relationship with him. Once I was old enough and I just realized I can't live with this guy anymore, those were a lot of the things that affected me and led me to leave. The main catalyst, mind you, there were years of stuff before then. The main catalyst was he promised me when I was still in actually I think it was when I was just starting high school. He promised that when we sold this family, that our property our family owned, that he would use some of that money to put me through college. Not help me a little with college, but put me through college. So then I got into the University of Portland, prestigious school. And I told him, like, I need just a little bit of money. I actually had busted my butt and got a lot of grant money. I need like $5,000 from him, and we had just recently sold a family property for over $1 million. And my dad was just like, well, I don't just have a bunch of money to give to you all of a sudden. Claimed that my mom wiped him out in the divorce, when I know for a fact my mom barely got anything out of that divorce. She moved into her own place and was flat broke within a year. That's how much money she got from my dad. And she didn't live too wild. She got a $700 a month, 1-bedroom apartment. But that was the thing, you know? My dad was a liar and a control freak. Because he was a former mechanic and he knew me and my mom weren't, whenever one of our cars broke down and it was like a 30-minute fix, he would take like 3 months to fix it, because he knew that he had control over us. This is a guy, sorry, I hope the wind isn't frying the audio, but this is a guy that if we had like a $60 cable, phone, electricity payment due, he would pay them like $30-40. And he would think that by doing that, he was exerting control over these companies. And then they would just shut our stuff off. We'd get our cable shut off 4 or 5 times a year because of this. That's how much of a control freak this guy is, you know? And just deceptive, not just to others, but to himself. This is a guy, you know, he states, oh, well, I've been fighting the fight since 1994. My dad barely did squat. He would read the newspaper and have opinions about stuff, but I didn't see him leaving and going to city council meeting. He didn't really start getting involved in stuff until 98, 99. The first big thing I ever saw him get involved in was when they were going to put in, I think it was the Coffee Creek Correctional Facility down by Wilsonville. My dad went and fought that, and he was like, I'm doing it for the greater good. They shouldn't put this here. There's a high school nearby, and it's not right. And he can prattle on all he wants about how he did it for the greater good. You know why he did that? Because for the prior couple of years, he was preparing that property I was talking about to be sold. And that property was less than a mile down the road from the projected prison site. My dad was fighting that because it was going to bring down the cost of the property that our family had when we sold. That's why he did it. There was no greater good. And then he literally spent like 2 years fighting the Milwaukee City Council over the naming of this park and trying to keep light rail from cutting right through downtown Milwaukee. And granted, I agree with him on that, but the fact of the matter is, he kept acting like, oh, we're gonna show them, we're gonna stop them. And guess what? That park they were gonna save is still just brushland with a little sign there. And the light rail went right through exactly where the city was trying to put it. Dad didn't stop shit, but he still acts like he made it happen. And I swear to God, I bumped into him in 2015, 2016. Now, mind you, this drama, he started getting really involved with this light rail and fighting Milwaukee City Council in like 2004. It's 2015. It is 11 years later. And I randomly bump into him. So I'm like, oh shit, okay, hey Dad, what's up? And he made a point to start telling me, hey, we're going after him. I'm really going after him. And he was talking about the same people he was talking about in 2004 that he was going to go after and take down. Well, guess what? The mayor of Milwaukee at the time has a better position now. Another woman on the city council that my dad hated got a better position after that. So, you know, he always talked about how he made it happen. Oh, trust me. Oh, we're gonna, you know, he always had to make me think he was making shit happen. And he wasn't, you know? And he would tell me like, oh, this big thing's gonna happen. I'm gonna, tonight's gonna happen. We're gonna knock him on their ass. And he'd come home and I'd be like, how'd it go? And he's like, oh, we didn't do it yet. That happened all the time. So, you know, here's a guy who's been deluding himself into thinking for the last 25 years he's been making this big difference in the world. And he's got the nerve to criticize somebody like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who's done 5 times what he ever has done in her first like couple of months in office. It's astonishing how much we've continued to divide. And my dad is such a, you know, he never fully admitted he was a Republican. He always just was like, oh, I'm kind of conservative leaning. Never fully admitted he was a Republican. And now suddenly he's just full on, hell yeah, brother. You know, and I can see it. I can see all these little things in his writing, and I know what they mean because I grew up with the man. You know, every single post he posts is like, hey, no, you know, if you're not going to show up, you don't have an opinion, you know? Because my dad's not somebody who understands that all people function differently. You know why it's so, you know, my dad is such a loudmouth and such a control freak and has to have so much attention on him that, you know, it's easy for him to go out and do this stuff because he does it for himself. He does it for attention for himself. And I'm scared shitless that he's going to run for office at some point. Like, I've heard him mention in passing, and like he had one post he did where he was like, you know, if I was to run for office, you know, I'd be able to show all these things that show why I'm qualified. How? Because you fought a bunch of stuff and lost every time? Because you have no prior actual, like, real political experience? You've never been a city council person? You never even had I mean, I guess he did have kind of a low position in Gladstone, but still, don't talk to me about your qualifications, dude. And I'll tell you what, if he decided to run for a really serious position, I would have no choice but to come out against him because I know him too well, and I know that he is not going to help things. He's going to make them worse. And he's going to go completely against everything I personally believe in. You wonder why I was such a brain-dead Republican in my earlier years? It's because I grew up being led and pushed and manipulated by my dad. This is a guy that said when Hillary Clinton ran in 2008, and I'm no Hillary Clinton fan, he said when Hillary Clinton was running in 2008, he would never vote for her. Not because she was unqualified, not because he didn't like her personality or whatever. He said he would never vote for her because he would never vote for a woman for president. And he said, can you imagine a woman on her period making important decisions? He literally said that to me. Of course, a lot of the stuff I'm saying he would deny he ever said because, you know, he was always one to say, hey, you know, I don't know everything. Let me know when I'm wrong. And then whenever I tell him he was wrong, he always had 10 comebacks to explain to me why I was wrong. He never admitted he was wrong. Never. In every fight him and my mom had throughout my childhood, not one of them ever actually got resolved. Primarily because neither of my parents, but my dad more so, could never admit to being wrong. Well, I was anxiety-ridden. I freaking walk into a 7-Eleven, and of course, the moment I go in, like 7 other people are freaking in there. Some guy reaches, like, looks right over my shoulder, is like, I'm grabbing another bag of ice, and I'm like, dude, do not spit that in. I guess better to spit it into the back of my head than my face, but just God, like, again, there's not a lot of COVID in this area. It's very unlikely that any of those people had it, but I'm just like, come on, man. Good thing I brought the sanitizer. I just sanitized my hands, my mouth, or like around my mouth and nose, just the whole shebang. I don't trust this. I don't trust it when that many people are getting close to me. Master, no. So I actually have been down this stretch before because I remember crossing Halsey here. But whatever, it's getting me the direction I want to go in. So anyway, I don't want to spend 30 minutes talking about my dad. I could talk about him for hours. I'm just saying I was real mad and real disappointed in him when I left home, and I'm still disappointed in him now for who he's become. And it's because I know he had issues growing up. I know he has issues, period. But he's smarter than this. But he'd much rather feel important than to be more intelligent. So, you know, he convinces himself of that. You know? And if you support his perspectives on that, whatever, that's who you are. You people aren't my father. You think universal health care is wrong. You think only certain people deserve to be taken care of. Only certain people should be allowed to see a doctor. Even in an economic situation in America where there's never a time where there's enough jobs for everybody, and yet everyone's like, well, go out and get a job because they're too stupid. That's the lazy way to go about finding an answer too. Well, your life would be better if you just went out and got a job. There's people out there that, you know, interview at 4 or 5 places a day, can't get a job. We live in a country where the amount of people who are work eligible or who need to work, we don't have enough jobs for all of them, so stop using that as an excuse. It's a nice lazy way of addressing the issue without actually addressing it. So you know what? You're against universal health care? Fine, go to hell. You're against mass immediate changes in racial issues in our country, race reform. Fuck you. Like seriously, that's my opinion. I don't have any tolerance for someone that is that inhumane. I don't care what your political leanings are. I don't care. If you think only certain people deserve health care, you can go straight to hell. And I'll gladly say that. And you want to unsubscribe to my channel because I think people deserve medical care when they need it? Good. I don't want you around my channel anyway, stinking and ignoranting. I say ignoranting, which isn't a word, so it makes me look kind of ignorant, but I don't need you on my channel stinking it up with your hate and your ignorance. I really don't. And alas, considering current circumstances, I do not think I'm going to be talking to my dad again soon. But who knows, I could bump into him on accident, but I'm not going to be as cordial as I've been in the past. I'm going to be like, oh, there you are. Wow, you're really making things happen, Dad. I'm really glad. You know what's so funny is a lot of the stuff he advocates for is stuff that negatively affects me directly. You know, like if I lose my Oregon health care, I'm screwed for, being able to go to the hospital. But, my dad doesn't know that, and my dad probably wouldn't give a shit. So he's actively supports things that make his own son's life worse, along with millions upon millions of other people. I'm just saying, the direct correlation between father and son. So, anyway, that's it. It's tragic, but at the rate we're going, I don't want this man in my life. I don't even want to be in the same room as him. His belief structure, as it stands and as it's been for a long time, is detestable to the point of nauseating to me. It's unfortunate. Despite what some people say, family ain't everything. So I'm actually surprised at how, I guess, I'm used to walking longer distances now. Because I'm doing okay, even in the heat. The heat actually feels kind of good. But I'm just staying on 117th till... I've already forgot the street I'm going to turn on. But anyway, I have to go over to... I'm avoiding 122nd because it's 122nd. But I have to go over there when we reach the band field, which I think I'm only a couple blocks from, and I have to do that because there's no other way to get past it. I don't think I'm turning here. I'll know the road when I see it. Which road is this? Aha! Fargo. The Coen brothers. I should have known. That's the road I want to turn down. I think my old friend ain't friends no more. I've brought him up periodically though. Again, I did a video quite some time ago on my channel called When There's an Apartment Involved. that explains why my friend Josh and I had a falling out and how it was maybe 10% my fault. Anyway, drama happened. We stopped working together, we stopped seeing each other as much, neither one of us was making a very concerted effort to stay in touch with each other, even as we were talking about getting an apartment together. And I don't know if it was specifically on this street, but in this area, within like 2 or 3 blocks, his grandma lived on this, and he ended up living with his grandma for a couple of months when their family lost their home, because his family got all, split up, which is one of the main reasons he started talking to me about getting an apartment, was he knew eventually his parents were going to split and he was going to lose his home. And, we'd talk about it, and then he'd disappear for 3 months and then come back and be like, hey, we get an apartment. We talk about it again. Months go by again, and it was like he would just keep disappearing. And then finally, we had this real serious conversation about it. It was like about this time of the year, but like 2014. And we made a decision that by Christmas we were going to have an apartment. And then less than 48 hours later, his dad got his own place, and he was like, oh, well, I'm moving in with my dad for a while. No, like, sorry about the apartment, bud. He completely just left me hanging. And that was when I decided I'm not getting an apartment with this guy because he won't take it seriously. And he was all about the fun of having an apartment with a friend. He wasn't about the responsibility. And I just realized this is not, we were talking about getting a place. Then he quit his job without a backup plan, kind of like my dad. And he was unemployed for like 8 months. Had we gotten an apartment together, we would have been screwed. I was relying on like a $900 a month paycheck from the theater I was working at. And he was unemployed. I don't even think he tried getting unemployment, but then again, he was living at home, so he probably, I don't know, they might have deemed his situation not dire enough. But anyway, he just kind of stopped talking to me and then had the nerve to get real sassy with me before he moved away to Vegas with his wife, who I believe he has a kid now. This is the same girl that when she would leave for school-related things, when she was getting her degree, he would have conversations with me about how he didn't know if he was going to be able to contain himself. Meaning, if she left for 3 or 4 weeks, he didn't know if he was going to be able to keep himself from cheating on her. So yeah, a real grade A guy. And I usually just kind of let him say what he wanted, but when that stuff started coming out, I was like, dude, shut up. Be an adult. Show a little discipline in your life. And that's coming from me, a guy with a long history of undisciplined behavior. But anyway, long story short, he lived in this area. He might have lived like a block or 2 south of here. I remember him constantly bitching about living with his grandma, and yet he still wouldn't make a big enough effort to get us an apartment. And then I got back together with my girlfriend. When you get into a serious relationship, something you genuinely talk about is getting a place together. And we'd started talking about that. And he got all pissy about that. Like, well, I had you first. I'm like, well, that's not how life works, buddy. Here comes the wind. So yes, I gotta get my mask back on, because this wraps around and dumps me on 122nd, and there's a massive homeless camp over here. I'm going to be encountering a lot of homelessness the final portion of my trek. That's the freeway right there, so I got to wrap down here, wrap around and go down 122nd and go under. And I could go onto the bike. No, the bike path just takes you off east of here. That's not going to do me any good. I've just got to stay focused because I got to avoid. Well, at least it looks like most of the homeless camps are away from the sidewalk, so I'll hopefully be okay. Here comes the wide turn. Is there a sidewalk even down here? Okay, good. I was like, I'm screwed. Seriously? Alright. Yeah, this is the only way to get under the freeway. There's a guy on a bicycle. I'm going to let him come through. Just going to wait for this fella to come out. Hopefully I don't encounter anybody else. This looks a little bit sketchy, if I do say so myself. Then again, any underpass in Portland has some level of sketchiness to it, just naturally. Hopefully there's not a bunch of homeless people over here. So I've never actually walked under here. I've crossed on this freeway numerous times and looked back this way. But there's another guy coming. Ah! I could have just come down this way. That would have been so much faster. What does this say? Bobby, you know I love you, Melinda. I love you. Whatever the hell else that says. Yeah. Bobby, she loves you. Get off your ass. Unless you don't reciprocate the feelings, I guess. Going under the freeway. One of those places you don't want to be when the big quake hits. Is under the freeway. And I love this. I always forget that the railroad lines, in this case this is like Union Pacific. You see the old sign there? I keep hearing leaves behind me and thinking someone's running up behind me. But yeah, they have these great old school bridges that I admire to a great degree. You can even see the concrete at the base kind of crumbling a little bit. It's Art Deco. I mean, it really is. Even this, where it's layered, oh god, this is frightening. Someone lost their homework. Yeah, that's beautiful, but it's unnerving. I was gonna say I think I'll be coming back another direction, but I don't. No, I could go over to 102nd when I go back, but then I'll just be covering a lot of previously covered ground. Look at all the little apples. The little green ones like the old man that I used to live next door to used to grow. Back in my childhood days. Okay, I actually don't have too much further to go. My main turnaround spot, I'm going to be doing another vlog up there. That's why I'm using it as a turnaround spot. But it's just a little further on up. It's maybe less than 10 blocks up from here. So that means I've almost hit 4 miles. Hell yeah, brother! I don't know if I got that in time. Yeah, so it starts, you get real northeast Portland, where I'm at. You know, Portland only goes maybe, well, it still goes about 50 blocks east of here, but I'm getting actually pretty close to the Columbia River. I forget how far north I actually live. Like, I could get to the Columbia River in about 5 miles. But yeah, you see it kind of opens up a bit. I'm in the Park Rose area right now, staying on 122nd. I'm gonna revert, whatever. I'm gonna hook it off to head up to Sandy to make my approach for my other video. I think that's nice here, and I have to view between the power lines here. You can't see it that great, but right there, that snowless, you know, it looks like a bowl turned upside down. That'd be Mount St. Helens. So that gives you kind of a vibe for how close Mount St. Helens is to Portland. So when it blew its top back in 1980, this whole town was looking a lot worse than it did when the wildfire smoke came in here a couple weeks back. I mean, it's almost farmland out here. It starts getting oddly rural and very farm friendly when you get to this particular area, at least for a little while, because I know it gets more civilized. You go a little ways that way, go a little further that way, you start getting a little sliver of Gresham and Fairview, and it's not uber populated. Like we're kind of starting to, you get northeast Portland, you start getting this. You go southeast Portland, you start getting little stuff like this. It's interesting. And you start to peer around the trees here a little bit. You know, with Mount St. Helens off that way, and we have a Mount Hood sighting, highest point in the state of Oregon. Just, yeah. Oh, Park Rose High School. I didn't really know where Park Rose High School was. So the place I'm going to before I turn around. It's actually a place I went to before and did a video on, and then I lost it. Computer took one of those dives, and I lost it all. I'm still trying to think about how I want to get home, because some kind of makes me want to just go up along Sandy for a little bit. I don't know. I don't want to go too hard. Granted, like, you know, I feel really good walking, and like even my right knee that was bugging me isn't bugging me anymore. Just need to get it nice and loose. Look at me, I am a tall drink of water. So there's just a Wendy's in this random building here with a basketball. And then there's just like a little baby playground thing here that seems so out of place. But, you know, to each their own. Yeah, I remember going through here and there was just a huge homeless camp here. Oh man, ran right over that. What is that? I don't know, it's trying to get to me. Oh, here we go. They provided me a route. It's not really safe, but I at least have a full view on what's coming my way. Whatever, that's gonna lead right to the brush, and if there's gonna be a homeless camp anywhere, it's gonna be in there. Alright, gang, so dude, calm down, you'll get to turn. It's not that big of a deal. Jesus, dude. It's not that big of a deal. God, that guy just wanted to mow me down. Anyway, I just finished the video I came up here to do. I'm not going to tell you what it was because that would spoil the surprise. The only hint I'll give you is that it has something to do with the intersection of Northeast 122nd and Sandy, which I'm walking along now. I was just kind of going to come up here and then revert back, but I kind of feel like going down this way. I really don't want to just go back the way I came. That's kind of a dud. So like maybe I'll go down to 102nd. Maybe I'll go all the way to 82nd. Get shanked. So this area can at times be a little questionable, but you're out in the open enough. I don't know if anybody's gonna try to mess with me, and if they do, I've been building up energy in my legs for weeks, just for the moment that someone comes and tries to mess with me, and then I run like a bitch. I may look like a bitch when I run, but I'm gonna be the one surviving into the next day. I survived another day of 2020. I know this yard over here, there's like a kind of a beat up RV over here, but I think there used to be a few more like random things over here. Like there was like an old Greyhound type bus and stuff. Interesting little finds. At least I think it was here. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just continuing to carry on a conversation because I just walked past someone who probably thinks I'm nuts. I'm not, whoa, right into a tree. My phone was obstructing the tree. I'm not dead certain, but I think I just walked past a prostitute. It's not a big deal, I'm just not used to it. Oh man. What the hell happened here? Jeez. This just got completely destroyed. I'm not used to being this close to a house fire. Yeah, this is like the only part that's still standing. God. That is wild. And not like an, oh, whoa, cool, far out, bro. Just like a... What do you think about the wildfires that just recently happened? And even in an area they didn't touch, like... Freaking A, man. This was a good-sized home too, or at least considering it's on commercial land, this may have even been a business. Maybe. It's crazy. Yeah. So there was just one too many questionable characters lingering on Sandy, and I was like, I need to vert off. There's me using that word again. Vert off at some point. Wygant Street. I think, is that it? W-Y-G-A-N-T. I always want to say it's like Wygant, but that's like extra letters added. Anyway, I think it's Wygant Street. Oh god. This is a sketchy street. I'm getting weird vibes. But this will take me like 20 blocks and avoiding Sandy. I don't know necessarily why I got what weird vibes. Maybe I was just trying to be dramatic. It's for dramatic effect, you know. Yeah, this is another one of those areas that's kind of, it's a little run down, but you're kind of wedged between Sandy and the freeway, and it's like, you're not going to get, you know, this is where the cheapest property is going to be. Whoa, must be Burt Reynolds or something. Okay, I've never seen a neighborhood change so drastically. I just walked through a bunch of crap, and now suddenly it's like I cross 105th and it's really pretty. And just all of a sudden it's like a lot nicer. That's what Portland does to you, though. I also realized I'm getting kind of close to Maywood Park. It's the other side of 102nd and maybe just a couple blocks south. So, you know, Maywood Park is beautiful. I did a video on it and its history and whatnot. And the harbor, you don't say. So I kind of wanted to keep going. I was going to go down a few more blocks, cut back up to Sandy, cross the freeway, maybe take 82nd back up. That would add probably like 2 or 3 miles to my trip, and my thighs are starting to burn. And that's never a positive thing. So I think I'm gonna start heading back this direction. But you know, I think I'll cut through Maywood Park. So this is Prescott and 102nd. This is the northeast corner of Maywood Park. This is all Maywood Park over here. It's only a few blocks by a few blocks. This here's the Maywood Park campus of Mount Hood Community College. But yeah, Maywood Park is its own little city, landlocked within Portland. It's an enclave. I think I'm pronouncing that right. An enclave, which is a place, you know, city in this case, landlocked within another city. And it's very tiny, you know, it's a few square blocks east and west by a few square blocks. It's actually triangular shaped, and it goes from, you know, here, a few blocks this way, and then pretty much over in the direction of I-205, which is a few blocks that way. And it's just a beautiful little neighborhood. And, you know, if you haven't seen my Maywood Park video, essentially what led to this neighborhood becoming its own city is this was a nice little peaceful community, and they did not want this big freeway being rammed in right next to them, shattering the quiet of the neighborhood, which I can understand. Anybody can understand. You know, if it's not happening in your neighborhood, it's like, we need the freeway, just deal, quit being so selfish. But if it's happening in your own backyard, you're like, well, wait, why do you have to do it here? Why can't you do it somewhere else? That's how people are. But they wanted to fight to keep 205 from butting up right against their town, because the way it was set up, 205 would have had to go through. And it does to this day. It does go through a portion of what is actually the town of Maywood Park. So, you know, the city successfully changed to its own city, and yet somehow the city of Portland was able to just plow 205 through there anyway. But they built like a berm, I guess you'd say, you know, to cut the sound of the freeway. But still, you know, it seems like the city of Portland was like, we're the big city, we have power, we're going to put the freeway wherever we want, and you're not going to stop us no matter what you do. Because they didn't run 205 through there till after this became its own city. So you ask yourself, well, why were they allowed to do that? Probably because Portland just said, we don't give a shit. But the town is still here, ever charming. They have little tree islands here at like every primary intersection. Like, I know if you look down there, there's another one, and then there's another one right up there. So yeah, there's these scattered. There's a lot of people up there, so I don't want to walk into that, but it's very tree covered. It's very pleasant, and even, you know, here we are just a couple blocks from the freeway. You can't really hear it, so it's not terrible. But yeah, that was, the city was trying to save itself, or the neighborhood was trying to save itself from being overrun by a freeway, and became a city to try and do so. And while it was a losing cause, you know, the primary thing they were going for, it's an absolutely gorgeous neighborhood today, very peaceful. I'd live here in a damn second, even though it's kind of surrounded all around by either a freeway or kind of slummy areas. I'd still do it. I mean, look at this. Look at this area. It's glorious. Not to deplete a very pleasant walk through a pleasant area, but ooh, the thigh burn is starting to form. I'm having to start walking like a bow-legged cowboy. You can see the rock walls of Rocky Butte, and kind of the grotto is just kind of a little bit over here to the other side of that. So you've got that big beast right across the freeway from here. And then here's the bike path kind of running in, and here's this berm that kind of tries to keep the freeway traffic back. But as you get this close, you can tell you can hear it still pretty well. So I have a critical choice to make. I can get over to the walking trail right across the way and take that theoretically all the way to the gateway area, which would help me avoid a lot of contact with people on the streets. But also, once you start going that bike path back down by the freeway, you never know exactly what you're going to encounter. So with that said, I think I'm going to take the bike path. A little clock in town. About to hit the turn in the path. Got my mask on. I'm ready for hell to rain down. Although probably not till I get to the other side of the Gateway Green. I'd walk through the Gateway Green, but I think they're doing a lot of maintenance on it, so I don't think I'm gonna be able to go through there. And since I've never been through this stretch of the bike path and it runs right next to it, what the hell, stay on the bike path. Well, they made it up the bike path and seem to be alive. Hopefully that means I'll be okay. This is where we veer off the park, and it's every man, woman, child for themselves. Oh my god, my thighs are burning. This is not going to be great going home. At least the sun is mostly behind Rocky Butte, so I'll have a little time to hopefully be out of the sun. I don't need any extra heat making my thighs twinge. Oh man, someone got pissed. Or was just looking for some good camping space. Hustling and bustling. And I know on some hillside over here, Maywood Park has been like etched into it. I don't remember exactly where. I know you can see it from the path. Aha! There it is. It's meek. It's kind of hidden behind a tree. But right over there it says Maywood. There's like the wood part of it. And it says May over here. Not as visible as usual. jackasses started a fire. Looks like fortunately it was just retained to this area. Yeah, I had to call on some guy a little while back. I was walking on a bike path a little bit north of here, and there was a guy just up on the ridge, and he had a little fire burning on the ground. Free boots. And just, yeah, I'm just like, dude, you're gonna freaking burn the whole hillside. And here's where, I've mentioned this, it's like my third time being here, that this is where kind of the thinner extension of the path comes, but this is where a road that was once called Hancock Lane used to come up. And it was a road that took you around Rocky Butte and wrapped you up here, but was clearly abandoned when they rammed 205 right through here, and this road would have been right in its path. I see no other reason to believe it was a different road, because literally if you look at maps of Portland pre-205, you see this Hancock Drive weave up like it does here. And it ultimately just went up to kind of Maywood Park. Because yeah, when I saw those old street lines, I was like, this is definitely an old street. There's even like the railings here, and it feels more like you're walking on a road here than a pathway, you know. This is some old concrete then, because obviously this hasn't been paved since the original road, because you can still see the faint lines. And 205, you know, it's not the oldest freeway in the world, but it's been here a while. Been here longer than I have. So these are lines that were paved, you know, decades ago. It's in surprisingly good shape, considering, you know, yeah, it's considered part of the path, so like they'd have to be maintained to a degree, but it looks like it's been doing a pretty good job of that itself. Yeah, so normally this is, and I really don't know what the setup is. What the heck? These look like noodles to me for a second. So, as far as I know, they're doing a lot of stuff over here. So I think this is, it doesn't say it's closed, but I'm not taking my chances. So I'm gonna stay on the main path. And this is where the path kind of verts away. There's the third time I've said vert today. From what was Hancock Drive once upon a time. And Hancock Drive still exists on the other side of 205. It just it kind of comes towards 205, and right before it gets there, it has kind of just this awkward cul-de-sac now. And now that I'm looking at the part that's not part of the path, this is probably more what the road would look like if there wasn't any maintenance being done on it. Because, you know, Hancock still kind of runs here, and then we kind of hook off from it. But I haven't gone through this stretch of this path before, but you can see this is a lot more overgrown. There's cracks where plant life is coming up. Some thick growth there on it. This is probably more what it would look like if it wasn't being maintained up there as part of the path. But it's still cool that this is here, even. Because you know me, I'm a fan of abandoned things, and look, it's just becoming more and more thinned out and overrun by the plant life. But yeah, it would have gone like kind of around Rocky Butte before the freeway was here. And then here's where the Max line runs through, and it kind of runs right next to the freeway. So I'm guessing whatever part of Hancock would have still been going through here is probably completely obliterated by the grading of the land here to allow the Max to come through here. So probably through here there's not any remains, and yeah, this looks like it's all grass. So yeah, that's Hancock, again, I think it's Hancock Drive. One of the few genuinely abandoned roads in Portland. There ain't a lot of them. There's a lot of them that haven't been paved, but there's not a lot of roads that are just straight up abandoned in this city. This like food plastic container fell over next to me, and I thought someone was over there waiting to trounce. Whew! That's how you get the heart rate going. Everybody stay away from me. I knew it was gonna happen. I knew before this run was over that I was gonna go into full freaking paranoia mode. Whew! Anyway, there's somebody up there, but it looks like it's somebody on a scooter. So hopefully not somebody who is going to endanger me. Hopefully. Hope a Max goes by, that'd be nice. Woo! Chugga chugga choo choo. I'm a fun ant. You might even call me a funt. Oh. Just as quickly as I turned to follow the Max, I turned back and that scooter person's gone. That sounds like tweeting birds. Are there like birds living under these? That sounds like, I don't know, it might be insects. I don't see how birds can fit into those little spaces. Even if they were chicks, probably, yeah. Now I think about it, it's probably just insects. Yeah, this is what I don't know, are they trying to make it look like the dunes on the Oregon coast? I don't know. This was all, there was some green land, it was a little, but now it's like, maybe they're just making it like a super duper extreme bicycling place now. But yeah, not too long ago I posted like the old footage I got while I was down here, and this was just kind of a green hillside, and now it's like, look at all the lumps and grading and stuff. Like they're going, it looks like they're going real hardcore into the whole, like making this an extreme bicycling area, which is, it's aight. Usual periodic trash dumping. I don't know though. I don't really think it's fair to call this the Gateway Green anymore. I think they need to start calling it the Gateway Brown. I mean, if we're gonna be literal about these things. Alright, mask back on. So once you get across this little overpass here, you don't know what waits ahead. God, I need to shave. My facial hairs are making this thing smoke up. Well, they made it through okay. It's just another hopeful reminder that maybe I will as well. I am being hyperbolic, by the way. And yet prepared. Yeah, you can see all along this hillside how the remains of camping, homeless people trying to find places to live. And there's always a lot going on over here around Halsey. Well, I think we know how the people got in here. Whew. What does that say? Trapaskin? Yeah, this is the area that's it's a little bit more disconcerting coming back this way, because if you're coming around that corner, you never know what's right here. Kind of surprised there's not anybody lingering here. But I'm coming, yeah, these are the Max tracks coming in. That's I-84 going west, I-205 going north and south. There's a lot of stuff going on. Be safe around that corner. Send me back news of my safety. Never run faster than your I don't know. Oh God, and here's the Gateway Transit Center. I need to shoot through this as quickly as possible. Ain't nobody need to be around the Gateway Transit Center during a pandemic. And that back there is the shitty hellhole known as the Gateway Transit Center. And there is a very intriguing collection of characters that like to hang out around here. Like there's a woman right across my shoulder. I just heard her losing her mind. You know, that like type voice. But yeah, it sucks over here. There's, you know, back when I was taking public transportation before the pandemic, there was at least once a week, there was constant delays because there was freaking police activity at this stop, and they had to stop everything. Oh, I thought that chick was freaking out. I think she's just singing while she walks with her dog. That's healthy. So anyway, you probably noticed video quality got a little better. That's because I had to, my other iPhone, it's getting on in years and the battery is dying a little bit quicker. So voila, switched over to my other iPhone, better battery life. Now I just need to get myself home and away from the Gateway Transit Center. This is no place for a healthy person to spend their free time. It's no place for an unhealthy person to spend their free time either. Classic dick nose. What's the point of having the mask on if you're just gonna wear it like this? So when we get to Gleason up here, I'm gonna veer right, go down to 97 because I wanna show you something adorable if it's still there. Finishing the approach to 97th. This is gonna be a little bit of a sketchy walk. Whenever you've got the road that's butted up right next to the freeway, yep, you're gonna have some of this. Jesus. Okay, I'm gonna have to really tread lightly. I don't even think I think it's just a random woman over here just cutting the grass. Okay, yeah, I see it dead ahead. Of course, there's a freaking RV in the way, but there's a house over here that's all beaten up, it's all boarded up, and yet there's goats living there. Actually, I think this is the intersection where that burned out bus that I've been seeing has just been kind of left there to rot. Oh man, I don't even know how close I can get. There's so much trash left over here. Or, I don't know, maybe that's trash. But yeah, this house right dead ahead, it's all boarded up. Like, it looks like nobody lives here, but there's, see, right there, there's a goat. There's like multiple goats that are being kept on this property. Of course, all this crap's in the way. Yeah. Oh, and there's some chickens there too. I never noticed the chickens. But yeah, there's some goats. And then they're just kind of like being, I mean, obviously they're being taken care of. But they're just here by this old beat up house. It's interesting. Of course, there has to be a car coming this way while I'm in this Hooverville of sorts. Oh, hello, goats. Oh yeah, it looks like this house has actually been turned into like a goat housing. That's why that's like that. This is where the bus was. I wonder if that's the engine out of the bus. They took everything else and just left that behind. It was too heavy. Yeah, that's what you can see. The trees are all charred. Yeah. So yeah, that stretch of 97th coming out to Burnside is just lined. Well, there's not a lot of houses there. I mean, there are a few. I know how the neighbors feel about that. But again, when the government in place don't do shit about your problems, problem grows and they gotta live somewhere. I say that every time. They're not, just because the homeless population is increasing doesn't mean they're gonna disappear. And our idiot mayor, Ted Wheeler, he hasn't done squat about it. He's been our mayor for 4 years. Comes out like last week, he says, I think we really need to rethink our situation regarding the homeless. You think, jackass? We just had our next mayoral election, which means you've been in power for several years. Excuse me, my nose itches. You're just now realizing that? Of course, Ted Wheeler's all talk and no action, so what do you expect? Turning down this side street because there were a number of questionable characters lingering ahead for me. Yeah, I voted for Teresa Rayford, and I'll write her in again. I'm really happy there's a lot of signs around saying write in Teresa Rayford, and you're not really seeing that for any other candidate. There's a reason for that. She's the candidate that people actually pay attention, actually want. I bet my dad's not a Teresa Rayford fan. Wouldn't shock me one bit. But yeah, in this runoff election, voted for Teresa Rayford the first time, and I will gladly do it again. What is this? My hair's starting to do things that really annoy me. And I just went to the TriMet, the Target, because I was close by, and I was like, you know, I probably should grab something. I'm gonna feel dumb if I get home and I'm like, Target was right there, why didn't you get something? My thighs, I am waddling like a duck right now. Word of warning, especially if you're, well, it happens to both sexes. I don't know why I'm saying, especially if you're a dude. Your deep thighs, your deep inner thighs. Things like Neosporin work really well because you get it on you and it just stays there forever, and it allows your thighs to slosh against each other. Or my girlfriend prefers the putting deodorant down there method. I'm okay with that method. It's worked, but I feel like the Neosporin method works longer, and it's already, you know, an ointment to help you in situations such as your thighs are on fire. So it's like medication that's already there, and you just slosh back and forth, slosh back and forth. It's a little bit of advice from your traveling friend, the amateur historian. Someone had to show off how tiny his dick is. Beautiful sunset. Oh boy. Oh, that hurts. As usual, I walked a lot more than intended. And I also love that in my last therapy walk, I started to talk about how, you know, I'm probably going to be doing these a lot less often. As I cover the same ground, the weather changes, I start having more focus on when I go out instead of just going out and having a general walk to video along with. And then I do what is now, I'm pretty certain, the longest therapy walk video I've ever did. Granted, a lot of my other ones I broke into 2, but even then, those would have only been about an hour at the most. I'm pretty sure the longest one I ever did was like an hour and 3 minutes, so longest therapy walk video I've ever done. Literally like 2 days after I said I'm probably gonna stop doing these, and I was kind of losing my steam a little bit. Well, that's one of the things I constantly learn on my channel, is that, you know, I'll be thinking something, I'll be going a certain way, and then something else will happen, and all of a sudden I'll realize, hey, you know, maybe what I said, maybe that was a bit hasty, and maybe I just, you know, you change your mind. When it comes to this channel, I'm changing my mind all the time. There's always something new. There's always some decision I make that I turn back on. It's chaos, but it's me. Oh, and by the way, I shave. I came home. I forgot to do an ending, which is why I'm doing this, but I came home, took a shower, and I was just feeling itchy and dehydrated, and my facial hair was burning my face alive. So I gave myself a shave. So, you can still see the outline of the stubble, but look at how youthful I look. I'm gorgeous. Not bad for a guy who's turning 35 in less than 2 months. God. I'm old. Anyway, that's it. It was, as usual, a much longer walk than I thought. Well, I thought it'd be about 8 miles, and it ended up being like 11 and a half. So another solid day, another painful tomorrow for my legs probably. But anyway, if you made it all the way through this video, thank you. I appreciate it. You are quite the trooper. So as always, and I'm trying to remember, and I keep forgetting to do this at the beginning of videos. Hopefully someday I'll wake up. And maybe I just need to make a title to put at the start, so that if I forget to do it on video, I'll always have that title that I just put there at the start of videos. I don't know, I'll figure it out. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe. Hit up my Patreon if you want to help me out that way. And until next time, my fellow adventurers, this has been Steve the Amateur Historian.